All right, number 89. This was supposed to be that mediumship never goes away. It turns out that was exactly what my video number 49 was. So 40 weeks ago, I made that video already. My bad. So today's video number 9 is other people's people in spirit. As always, like the video, comment on it below, click the subscribe button, please. All those things help other people to see these videos. So other people's people in spirit, what I mean by that is, for example, my mother comes through a lot in practice circles, and every once in a while, someone will tell me, I was doing such and such, not in a circle, and your mom was there. And I know that sounds weird. I'm like, no, that doesn't sound weird. You're not the first person who's told me this. And so my mother, who they never met other than to get them in a reading, has been involved in their life somehow. I got, and in reverse, just as one of many examples, I was reading for this man. I got this old woman who I felt like she was pulling on my ankle and my knee, like pulling my joints back into alignment. It turns out she was a huesera. It's a Mexican huesera, which is kind of like a hueso is bone in Spanish. Huesera is kind of like a chiropractor before there was any such thing as chiropractic, kind of, not the best example, but it's the best one I can make. And so I had, months later, I was sitting in my den, and my foot was cramping really badly, and I thought, what the heck, I'll ask, for help from people in spirit, kind of more than half expecting one of my grandmothers who helps heal me whenever I'm ill or injured to show up. And instead there was this woman from this Huesera woman. And I was like, I remember you. And I knew just to relax. So I just relaxed, and I could feel her holding my foot. And I just turned my ankle just barely a little bit, and my whole foot went like really loud. And it was such a relief. Whatever was out of alignment cracked back into place. So, and that's not the only example of someone else's person in spirit touching my life totally outside of mediumship reading, or my people in spirit helping others as well. I had been doing this, I've been actively engaged in mediumship for a few years before I noticed this phenomenon. So it may have been happening earlier and I just didn't notice. I don't know. Shouldn't be surprising. To me, it's not really that surprising, considering I already knew we have relationships with people in spirit that we never knew. For example, several times I've connected with a grandparent who says, I'm grandma anyway, or I'm grandpa anyway. And that's always when the grandchild in question passed after they were born. They insist they still have a relationship, that they're still the grandparent of that child. So, and they give evidence about what's going on in that grandchild's life, whether the grandchild's an adult now or not. So really interesting. So we do have relationships with people we didn't know, although in that case, it's someone who's connected to you, genetically, it's a relative. But anyway, so if you are a developing medium, be aware that this can happen. You'll likely become aware of your own people. My people in spirit are much more vivid to me now than before I knew anything about mediumship. I mean, I know when they're with me. I could felt like there were people with me, but I didn't know who they were, and I didn't really know it was mediumship. And now I know specifically when it's a parent or grandparent or some other loved one, for example. So you become more aware of your own people in spirit. And then this thing happens where other people's people in spirit you start to connect with. Maybe it doesn't happen to everybody, but I also wonder how many people just aren't paying attention to that. So, so there's that. I don't have much more to say about that. I've just never heard anyone talk about this topic in any mediumship video or discussion. So the last thing I'll say is I've suspected for a long time, even before I really knew about mediumship, that we all belong to communities in spirit, like the kind of like church communities or school communities here in the physical, and that we are connected to groups of people, and we come in combinations of people staying there and people coming here, and vice versa, and helping each other and looking after each other. And so I wonder if this phenomena happens with people in those same communities. So like the Huesera woman, I didn't know the man here until I met him online, but I wonder if we're not part of some community in spirit before we ever incarnated into these bodies. I don't know. Anyway, next week, that's all I have to say on the subject. Next week, I'm going to talk about how self-improvement in your day-to-day life, in your physical life, can only help your mediumship. It may do nothing to your mediumship, but it's likely going to help it in some way. So self-improvement, that's it. As always, like the video, please comment on it below, click the subscribe button, and see you next week. Thank you.